Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The ACORN scandal rises to the White House. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. It's all over for ACORN as liberal politicians are running away from that activist group as fast as they can. Just yesterday, Speaker Pelosi said she didn't understand what all the fuss was about. Well, apparently, she found out.
Any group that receives any funds from the federal government needs to have tough scrutiny applied to it. A few individuals at ACORN did what I think is, what would be the appropriate word? Some have said despicable, but in any event, totally unacceptable, and in my view, inexcusable.
Wow. Now, over at the White House, spokesman Robert Gibbs has also addressed the ACORN scandal.
Obviously, the conduct that you see on those tapes is completely unacceptable. I think everyone would agree with that. The administration takes accountability extremely seriously.
As the White House should. But here's the interesting thing today. The ACORN leadership remains unrepentant.
We are not going to take this lying down. We believe that, in fact, we know that this was a form of entrapment. And yes, we're going to go after this videographer and Fox, because they run with things without checking and using any journalistic standards. They got kind of caught up and got duped themselves. For Fox and the right wing to have to stoop to a made-up scenario is one thing. But as you know, and as I've said over and over again, those people were reprehensible. I think they're, basically saying these people shouldn't be trusted. How could they be trusted? They're all poor black and brown people.
Now, you may remember that Bertha Lewis, a woman there, came on The Factor last May. We had a respectful discussion. She declined her invitations this week because she knows it's all over. And the Fox News channel drove the story. Simply put, she's angry. But she shouldn't be angry at us. She should be angry at herself. When any group gets millions of taxpayer dollars, there's an obligation to hire honest folks and represent all the American people. ACORN did neither. And so it is toast, burnt, finished, kaput. Will you miss them? And that's a memo. Now, for the top story tonight, the demise of ACORN, as well as Van Jones last week, demonstrates the power of the conservative/independent media, which highlighted both stories and drove public outrage. Now, some liberal politicians are getting very worried. Once again, Nancy Pelosi.
I have concerns about some of the language that is being used because I saw this myself in the late 70s in San Francisco. This kind of rhetoric was very frightening, and it created a climate in which violence took place, and so I wish that we would all, again, curb our enthusiasm.
Well, it's not likely to happen, as there is blood in the water. Joining us now from Los Angeles, conservative author and Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. And from Dallas, Mike Gallagher, a syndicated radio talk show host. Very successful one as well. Now, both of you guys are not fans of President Obama, but something has happened in the last 3 weeks that is really extraordinary, because the debate over health care, over who should serve in government, i.e. Van Jones, over political corruption, ACORN, has been driven solely by Fox News and by conservative talk radio. The mainstream media had no part in it at all. So the power now has shifted to us and to talk radio. I'm worried, though, Gallagher, that there may be overkill on the way. Because once you get a taste of power like that, you get high ratings. It's almost like a drug. You got to have more and more and more. You see what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, but it's more than ratings, Bill. It's not a ratings-driven thing. For us, it's ideology, it's a mission, it's a cause, it's a calling. And you're right. The last few weeks have been extraordinary. I think back to the time when Rush Limbaugh exploded on the national scene, and Rush himself would always kid about the fact that despite his prominence in the late 80s, early 90s, mid-90s, we still had 8 years of Bill Clinton, and he always shrugged off claims of his prominence and his influence. Well, this time, something has happened. You have over 1 million people on the lawn in the mall in Washington, D.C. Saturday. You have the Van Jones. You have ACORN brought to its knees, and as you put it, toast. There is blood in the water, but we better be careful in our industry, and I think most of us responsible radio hosts will be. It has to be legitimate. It has to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, and I have to correct. You said $1 million in D.C. The fire department says 75,000. I wasn't there. I don't know. Now, Tammy, what? See, here's the problem. If you get a taste of power, then you have to top yourself. Now, this ACORN story is a long time. The Beck program and the Factor, we've been investigating this for 6 months, 8 months. We trailed it down in New Orleans, all the money, and then it just popped because of these 2 videographers who went out and got all the undercover video. But now there's a pressure on the right wing to kind of put Obama away. You see what I'm talking about here? And as Mike said, it's got to be legitimate. It can't be stuff that you just make up.
Bill, I have to tell you, every morning I wake up, and we've all been in either television or radio for most of our adult lives. We've seen how these things move. We have to wake up in the morning, as I do. I can't speak for others. I think Mike does as well, with a goal of what's best for America. I do my show. I don't start the show saying I'm going to get X or I'm going to go after so-and-so. It becomes what happens through the day, like today. Barack Obama announces he's scrapping the missile defense shield that would protect Poland and the Czech Republic from the Soviet Union on the anniversary of the Soviet Union invading Poland in 1939. I mean, every day, this is an issue, Bill, about governing. It's not about getting anybody. I didn't get the memo about going to get somebody. The natural thing is, if you care about the country, and this I have to argue, too, it's not being driven by talk radio or even Fox. It's being driven by the American people.
Well, that's for sure. There are a lot of American people who don't like Barack Obama and are not going to like him no matter what he does, and that presents another problem, Mike.
Now the majority.
But
it presents another problem, though. If people don't like the President of the United States, it's almost like Bush in reverse. President Bush did some good things, but you would never know it by the New York Times or NBC News. Everything Bush did was bad. Everything he did was bad.
Right.
Now we've got that shoe on the other foot. So how do you handle it?
Yeah, but the stakes are so much higher. When we talk about nationalization of our health care, we're talking about deficits in the trillions of dollars. The American people aren't going to take this. You know, when Nancy Pelosi, in the soundbite you played a moment ago, complains about the rhetoric that my side is using, you know, just down the street from where I'm sitting right now here in Dallas, Cindy Sheehan and her band of crazies are still outside George Bush's house, calling him a war criminal and saying despicable things about him. I didn't hear her condemning rhetoric then. So you know what? We're playing tough, but we better be fair and we better make sure that the issues are legitimate. As Tammy said, every day something absurd comes from this White House.
All right, Tammy, last question for you.
To fight back.
Is there anything President Obama could do or has done that you like?
Oh, sure. Oh, look, if we captured Osama bin Laden and Zawahiri and the One-Eyed Sheikh, the 3 stooges over there in Pakistan somewhere, if Barack Obama captured those guys or killed them, I would be looking at this man slightly differently. But ultimately, it comes down to his inability to govern and the fact that he seems to have, it seems to me, some malevolence toward this country, which is unabated.
I got one. I think he reads a teleprompter better than you do, Bill.
No one does. Gallagher, you're out of your mind. Tammy, Mike, thanks. Next on the rundown, the president may be running into national security trouble. We will tell you all about that. And later, Bill Cosby apparently agrees with Jimmy Carter that race is driving some anti-Obama criticism. Right back.